All over our cities, along our coastlines and across our green and pleasant land, an invisible army is fighting a never-ending war. Their enemy is the filth that we create and the vermin that thrive on it. Welcome to the hidden world of the Grimefighters. On Grimefighters tonight, Enforcement Officer John Waite gets into character.
Here's Johnny!
In Dagenham, Pest Controller Pete needs all the help he can get.
There's a big dead one now. Is it? Yeah, there's loads of big rats around here.
Vince turns tough on London's rogue traders.
Everything is fresh, everything is good.
Put it this way, I wouldn't want to eat it.
And on the River Tyne, it's a family affair.
Me and my brothers have all been brought up on the river. It's just all in my blood.
But first, in Grimsby, there's a property which has to be made safe. It could fall down. It's a job for a no-nonsense John Waite, the Sheriff of Grimsby. All John knows is that this was once a bric-a-brac shop. Now, it's just brick.
The owner isn't in a state medically to give us any advice or assistance as to what may be in there due to his age and current medical conditions.
John looks it over with a well-trained eye.
Years gone by, there's been a substantial fire in here, which kind of the smoke-damaged areas and the lack of floor, etc. I think we are all dealing with a pretty unsound situation here. We should all vacate the premises because it's very, very unsafe. Yeah. We'll go around the back then.
John and his posse are on the trail, checking the owner's lock-up at the back.
No one really knows what goes on behind closed doors. I'm hoping that we're going to find it's all nice, clean, prim and proper, but I doubt it. A bit rough.
John fears the worst.
Nightmare waiting to happen.
He won't have to wait long before the full extent of the nightmare becomes apparent. On a shopping street in Dagenham, there seems no cause for alarm. But round the back, there's a serious hygiene problem. It has to be tackled.
We're a disco hire shop. We hire disco equipment. We've had quite a bad problem with rats in the property over the past, I think, probably 3-4 months now. But they've been here about 6 months. You see them running down the road.
What's in rats?
But every cloud has a silver lining.
But he loves the rats. He loves it better than pedigree chum. Caught one. I come down and he's going, pulling it. I've had to pull him up like that. The rat's in his mouth. The rats like, shook it and got it out. But he loves the rats.
We've done about 1 kilo of rat poison in the past 2 weeks, probably less than that, probably about 10 days. We've just rebaited the place today. We've done as much as we can, but there's only so much you can do.
It's time to call in the rat catcher-in-chief, Pest Controller Pete.
Supposed to be a plague of rats running around here. They've had a lot of clear outs, so it's a bit hard to see if we're going to get the rats here. So we've just come down here to do a survey on it.
He doesn't take long to locate the problem. But Pete's got to be careful.
You don't really want to put your hands down there, because if it's a blocked hole at one end, there could be a rat sitting there. I've had many rats come out and run up, like, not run up your arm, but they run out and scutter around you to get away. But it ain't a nice feeling if you want to get bit. So I tend to use a little stick and just probe it in slowly. You can feel where the holes are, where it's going. Look, it's going right through, nice and gentle.
Pete's not rushing this. He needs to get the lie of the land.
There's a big dead one now.
Is there?
Yeah, there's loads of big rats around here.
Okay.
And up the other end, and like that.
All right, mate.
Looking at it from here, with my experience, basically, it looks like a female, believe it or not, which is quite good, because obviously everyone knows that they produce the litter.
It's easy if you know where to look.
Yeah, you see the bite marks, teeth marks going along here, all along the edge here. It proves that the rats have been biting from outside to go in, not inside to get out.
The seasoned rat catcher follows the trail inside.
They're just everywhere, just by the droppings alone here, look. And they're literally, they are fresh. They've been here while we're outside talking.
Of course, rats, and particularly an army of rats, need food supplies. And finding that isn't difficult.
As you can see, it's a lot of rat haven here for them as food. Free of charge. Yeah, come and ring it. Why are the rats getting in here? The main thing what we can actually see, it hasn't got a lid on. So for a start, this bin's got to go back to the council and get a lid put on like the next one. If you have a look on this one, you can see where the bags have been actually chewed and ripped open where the rats have gone in. If you have a look here, you can see like where the rats been. Look, they've got food in there, it's warm in there, it's dry in there. It's perfect. It's the only word I can use. Perfect.
Pete's seen all he needs, but he can't get to work straight away. He needs authorisation.
There is hard evidence of a big festation here. All I can do now is sit and wait for the environmental health to actually give the green light, and we're in.
Back at the lockup, the Sheriff of Grimsby is meeting some stiff resistance.
What we'll do now is just resort to a trusty steel saw, and it'll be off within minutes.
John is first through the door,
Here's Johnny.
and he soon finds himself in a strange new world.
We've got an array of, well, it's difficult to say. We've got fridges, we've got electrical appliances, and then again, it's got substantial damage to the roof areas and support for the building.
This situation is bad, but it's about to get worse.
Looking at this pile in front of me, I can certainly see a number of butane gas cylinders, which could have proved to be very hazardous.
The sheriff and his deputies may have met their match, but that's not the right phrase.
These cylinders, believe it or not, are actually all full. So, pretty volatile, to say the least.
With flammable gas around, it's over to Fireman Carl.
Also, what we're removing here is a can of gas cylinder. When these go off, these will blow the side of a house out. That's how dangerous they are.
As a fire expert, he takes gas cylinders very seriously.
The normal procedure for firefighting with this would be to evacuate at least 200 yards around the fire area onto the fire ground, and also we'd have to put water on this for 24 hours. So the whole firefighting procedure changes, it becomes a major issue just for the one cylinder.
I think even the uninitiated can see that this is just really a disaster waiting to happen.
The obvious danger has been dealt with, and John can now call in his deep clean team. Back in Dagenham, Pete's had the green light to give the rats hell, and he's come prepared. Of course, rats have rat-like cunning, but then Pete is pretty cunning too.
The actual location is very important to put a control box in and feeding stations, because obviously rats ain't going to run out in the open, they're going to run along the side, so I've got to look for telltale signs. So I think our best plan is bolt it straight onto that garage bit. We've got evidence of rats running through there, we've got grease stain marks through there, so it's quite obvious. It's not rocket science, but at the end of the day, it's knowing where to place the box. That's the key of it all. You know, you don't want it down there, you don't want it there, you want it where it's going to come out on a run.
The next decision is vital. You can't just use any kind of bait.
On this job, I've written the wax bait is going to go down better than the seed bait. It's got a very sweet, pungent smell, and it attracts the rats quite well. They've got a very, very good sense of smell. This should be the kiddie.
This method may look quite simple, but it's how Pete uses this method which will be critical.
I've got left about a 3-inch gap from there roughly, because when rats come through, if you put something close up tight, they tend to want to run past it. They're not used to seeing a box here, so they're going to stop and think, oh, what's that, and have a look. It'll take them 2 or 3 days. It might, because there's abundance of rats here, they might just go in it within half hour of us going. That's all done, all ready, all set, bolted in, and we'll wait and see. It's safe, no birds, no animals can get in there, only rats and mice.
But that's not the end of the story. There's more to come. Every night after closing time in London's West End, many of those who've had a few drinks now want a few eats. There's a temptation to go for an unreliable source, but that could be a big mistake. Council Enforcement Officer Vince and his team have the hot dog sellers in their sights. Tonight, they're straight into action.
If you look down in here, no refrigeration. The sausages just loose, open to the elements. We've got the onions here, as you can see. They're not particularly clean, but these get cut up and thrown on the hot plate. As you can see in there, some greasy piece of tissue. It's not particularly nice, not particularly hygienic.
It's their job to protect the public.
The threat of food poisoning is always there. I said there's no hand washing facilities, so if someone's used the toilet, next thing they're coming out and cooking the sausages. It's not particularly nice. These sausages would have already been part cooked or pre-cooked. Looks to me they would have probably been stored in that box. You can see the amount of grease in there. They would have had the cooked sausages in it, and then they're going to be put on the hot plate. It's not particularly hygienic.
Now this man won't be selling bangers. He's banged to rights. And Vince explains how this food chain has been broken.
We're going to take the trolley. To them that's worth probably in the region of between 150 to 200 pounds.
Coming up, a deep clean team strike it rich.
What do you reckon, 50p? Pound?
Pest Controller Pete thinks outside the box.
So I've got him whatever way he wants to go.
While Vince diffuses a potential bomb.
There was actually one of these exploded in the past.
And in Newcastle, it may look serene, but it's far from clean. Up and down the land, a little-known army of dedicated professionals are devoted to battling an ever-advancing tide of grime. Back in Grimsby, a much-needed deep clean of the lockup has been ordered, and Grimefighters Darren, Steve and Sean have taken up the challenge.
Bit of a mess. It's definitely a fire risk. I really am surprised I haven't been burnt down.
The rubbish here has accumulated over years, and clearing it means a journey back in time. But when Steve finds some vintage entertainment, he's not amused.
Not very good reading though, is it?
As the team dig deeper, they unearth more potentially lethal dangers.
These two are fire hydrants, and this one's a gas canister, which is, well, it could be quite lethal if somebody gets in here and sets fires to it.
I don't know what's in this canister here, because there's no signs on it. Could be flammable liquid. There's nothing on it at all. It's obviously been here a long time. We'll put that to one side, give the council a ring round and see what they say.
Unnamed fluids in rusty containers, however, are nothing compared to what Darren now finds.
There's quite a bit of asbestos. Obviously at the moment we don't have to wear the P2 mask, but as we start finding it and as we start taking more of it down, we'll have to start putting the apparatus gears on.
Leaving them till last, putting them all in the pile, get rid of them at the end.
But the dangers of asbestos are quickly outweighed by the potential rewards.
If you find something you think it is worth something, take it to the auctions. You know, simple as that. Obviously if it's on a job what's a private job, then it's not yours, but on any other jobs, it's pretty much if you find it, just auction it. I went to actually find a fishing rod once and it was worth a bit of money. What was valuable was some ornaments I got about £1,000 for.
Might come across a few antiques. You never know.
Recent member of the team and novice prospector Steve is hoping to strike it rich.
There's your antique, Steve.
Where?
Oh, man.
There, look. What do you reckon, 50p? Pound?
Like you see, now we're getting to the bottom, everything's just rotting away. Definitely more of a smell coming up from it all.
It seems Steve will have to content himself with something choice from the 20th century.
What you got?
A rusty pair of pliers.
Fortunate for Steve, he hasn't found his antiques he's been looking for all morning. But I'm sure he'll still get paid anyway, won't you? He's just dying to find something that's worth something. Not in this one.
If I do, I won't be telling you lot.
No, you won't.
The lads may not have discovered hidden treasure, but at least they've cleared up an almighty mess.
Yeah, it's all pretty much all swept up, all finished. Case of the next job. The only really hazardous materials we found, apart from obviously your sharps and that, is your asbestos, which is just your cement-based asbestos, and just a few gas bottles and fire extinguishers.
With the last of the litter loaded onto the lorry, it's clunk, click, and off to the skip. In Dagenham, Pest Controller Pete resumes his struggle with rat-like cunning. Outside, he's laid some strategically placed bait boxes. But when Pete goes inside, he reveals some lethal new weapons.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use traps, ordinary traps. So what I'll do, because rats are very clever, we've got to put a bait on here, but make sure the bait's on there solid, because they tend to want to whip it off with their little tail, knock the chocolate off, which I'm going to use, and then eat the chocolate and the trap's still set. So what I do, I put a little bit of super glue on the trap, put the chocolate on the super glue. They can't flick it off with their towel. It's on a spring, obviously, the trap, so they've got to try and tug it. The moment they tug it, the plate goes down, bang, we've got ourselves a nice rat.
These rodents are proving elusive, but Pete is a man with a very sound plan.
We set them all on the edges. And I also, in here, I'll put double ones together, because some rats like to jump. They come up to it, look at it and jump over her. So if it jumps over, it's going to hit the second one. If it goes the other way, it's going to hit the other one. So I've got him whatever way he wants to go.
It looks like Pete is going to win this one, but it's never over until it's over.
The rats are always going to be here, end of. If we knew the answer, there wouldn't be a rat in this country, but there's going to be loads of rats and we're not going to wipe them out, end of. They're too clever. All we can do is control them, and that's it.
Pete leaves the scene in Dagenham confident of victory. But hold on. Back on the hunt for rogue hot dog vendors in London's West End, Vince takes a call.
November Whiskey 2, be with you in about figures 5, over.
And another unlicensed hot dog seller is about to feel the heat.
All right, we just had a report from the CCTV that we've got a hot dog trader that had been trading.
This is best food and very cheap.
Do you have a licence to trade in the streets of Grimsby? You don't have a licence. I'm going to be reporting you for the offence of illegally street trading.
It's not just a question of dodgy food. This piece of kit is a potential bomb.
It's got a wooden floor, doors made of wood, gas bottle, and a regulator goes through to the burner. As you can see on here, it's not particularly secure. If there was to be a gas leak, there could quite easily be an explosion. It makes them quite a dangerous thing to be actually out on the street. There was actually one of these exploded in the past.
2 busts in one evening means it's been a good night for Vince, but he knows the rogues will return.
We seize approximately 500 trolleys a year. They're trying to negate that by making their trolleys cheaper so they can produce more and get them more out on the street. We're trying to make it economically unviable for them to come out here and trade.
I swear this is best food. Hot dogs is best food. I swear. Everything is fresh, everything is good.
The vendor may have faith in his product, but it's not a faith that Vince shares.
Oh, put it this way, I wouldn't want to eat it.
But it is best food in the West End, I want to swear my life. 1 hot dogs, buy 1 free.
We'll see by the end of the night when there's a lot more trolleys on the van to see if they're still in such a jovial mood.
The life of a grime fighter has plenty of variety. One moment you're ashore, the next you're afloat. In Newcastle, on board the good ship Clearwater, Mark and David are plying their trade on the River Tyne.
What we're doing is any of the debris that's coming up on the shore, we're going into the shore and we'll try and pick it up, you know.
While Captain Mark carefully manoeuvres the boat, his first mate David prepares to engage. It's a skillful business.
Some of the rocks and that's underneath the boat can damage the boat, so you've got to really be very careful and gentle with the boat.
It seems there's a log on the Tyne.
Quite substantial where the stuff comes out of the river, like 400 tons or a bit more in a year, you know.
Today they're responding to a report of some unusual debris.
I had an email from the council to say there was some corrugated sheeting that had blew up one of the sites up here and onto the shore.
David soon gets to grips with the problem.
Just going to try and get a better hold on under the grab.
If at first you don't succeed, try again. The captain has issued an order.
We're just going to start building some piles. He's going to start getting some piles together so we can pick them up with the crane. It's a lot easier when you get it all piled up and that. So
Everyone's part of the team, including the boss.
there's only one who are allowed to go ashore at a time, you see. Because obviously one's got to steer with the boat. But me being the captain, I'll let him go on first. Look at the farmer comes down with the machine, and what he does is crushes it up and makes like a compost.
But even these grime fighters have to take precautions.
Well, with the stuff like that in the river and like on the shores and that, we've got to have vaccinations against like hepatitis. It's part of the job we've got to do, I mean, it's what we get paid for.
For Mark, a life on the river is a lifetime's dream.
Dad bought a boat, him and his brothers, in 1962. So me and my brothers have all been brought up on the river. We like our fishing, we like our boats, we like the sea and that, you know, it's just all in our blood.
Since the filming of the show, the Sheriff of Grimsby has declared that building safe.
And the residents can sleep soundly tonight.
Dagenham Pete wins his rat battle for the time being anyway.
I've actually claimed my bayonet, so I can actually get the bits and pieces.
And Vince is still busy cutting the mustard with the hot dog bandits.